our Baltimore Ravens move into the next stage of the offseason, what team in the NFL has the best chance of dethroning the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles? I have a question for the viewers to pick your brain just to see where people stand. All this and more coming up now.
But first, Ravens fly. Let's fly.
All right, the NFL season is closely approaching. It's rapidly coming. Every time I blink, another week has gone by and we are getting one step closer to the week 1 matchup versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, starting next week, after a long weekend where most of us get a 3-day weekend, and I tell you, I am in need of it. It has been a week for me. But the one thing I have is to look forward to Tuesday, and that is when OTAs start. Organized team activities. Ravens players will begin to trickle in. It's not mandatory, but the Ravens normally have a large turnout when it comes to these events, especially after a season where we kind of fell short, and the Ravens want to get back into it and make sure that everything's right. So from the 27th to the 29th, June 3rd, June 5th through 6th, and June 9th through the 12th, the Ravens will be in town practicing, installing plays, getting ready for the upcoming season. Now, there is no live contact allowed. They are just going to do 7-on-9, 11-on-11 drills, installing plays and just going over some things, maybe put in some new wrinkles for the season, being that this is the 3rd year of the Todd Monken system. So the playbook is going to open up. It's going to expand even a little bit more for the players. They're going to be able to run some plays that they may not have run before because they are acclimated to what they've done in the past. And this installation and these new wrinkles may be the key to the Ravens getting over the hump and making it to the Super Bowl. And these 10 days are very crucial for building that camaraderie, building that brotherhood. Even though all might not be there, there will be enough key components to kind of get and set things in place to set the tone for the start of the season. Because then we turn right around to mandatory minicamp on June 17th through the 19th. So the season is here. We're entering the month of June, then we'll hit July. We're going to get preseason action, and then we're going to be in September. So this is a chance for this iteration of the Ravens to build that foundation, to try and get over those hurdles, those bumps and bruises along the road to make it to that ultimate goal. And while we are trying to make it to that goal, there seems to be a few teams that may be in the way of the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. We have the usual suspects in the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. But on the NFC side, we have the reigning champion Philadelphia Eagles. And there was a poll put out there talking about the teams that they feel could dethrone them and take that mantle as the best team in the NFL. And if you ask me my pick, of course it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Of course I think that the Ravens can beat the Eagles. The Ravens almost defeated them in week 13 where they lost 24-19. And if it weren't for a few mishaps here and there, Justin Tucker missing 2 kicks, the Ravens might have won this game. The Ravens by far did not play their best game of the season, and they were still right there with the Super Bowl champions. They outgained them in yardage 252 to 372. That is 120 yards more than what the champions had. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Eagles because offensively and defensively, they are a very strong team. But the Ravens showed we can go toe-to-toe with you guys. We have the pieces necessary to beat this team. Now, every year is going to be different. There are going to be losses and some additions, and the Eagles have lost some key guys defensively. You know that Howie Roseman is going to reload and retool this team, but the Ravens have added some things themselves. It is just a matter if these guys can come in and take up the slack for people that have left, people that underperformed last year. I think the Ravens can do it because even in that game versus the Eagles, what stood out to me most was the passing. With all that the Eagles have defensively, Lamar Jackson still passed for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns, whereas Jalen Hurts only passed for 118. I think the ground game was the difference. Even though the Ravens did come in with the higher ranked run defense, they did give up 100 yards to Saquon Barkley. That is to be expected. Saquon Barkley was a monster last year. Derrick Henry didn't have his best game. He had 19 rushes for 82 yards. And I think that seeing them a second time around, especially if it is in the Super Bowl, I think things will be flipped a little bit. I think the Ravens would lean more heavily on Derrick Henry. I think Lamar being in Todd Monken's system again. I think with Bate, Zay, and Isaiah likely having a more prominent role in this offense, I think that the Ravens can do something. So if it be, and I would love to see an Eagles-Ravens Super Bowl. I just know that if we see them again, things may turn out a little different next time. So it was brought to my attention that as the views on my videos go up, the more notoriety I get, it has been explained to me that not everybody's subscribed to the channel. only 58% of the people watching these videos are not subscribed. So if you could do me that favor, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I guarantee you, the more that I grow, the more that I will do. And I appreciate each and everything that you guys do for me. And if you want to also support this channel, make sure to go over to patreon.com/ROUG, become a patron. For as little as $5 a month, you can join a growing community of people. You can get into the Discord. We have special programs, we have special things going on that are just for patrons, some things you may not want to miss out on. And speaking of being a patron, listen, the fellas have asked me to come out of retirement. For a lot of you that know, listen, Lunch Break Hot Takes League, my league, I am the 3-time champion. I have 2 3-peats going. That's why you always see me wearing the rings, because I have 2 3-peats in both leagues. When it comes to picking football games, I cannot be beat, and I decided I was going to retire to let one of my other patrons win my league and let one of LBHT's patrons win their league. But they got tired of me talking smack, and they know if they really want to be the man, they got to beat the man. So I'm coming out of retirement. If you think that you can beat me, if you think that you can pick games better than I can, and you want to win one of these rings, just sign up and join the Patreon, and we'll see where it goes. And while we're entering the end of May and hitting up June, of course, it is the all-important June 1st cuts, where teams can release players and designate them post June 1st cuts, and instead of eating all of their salary cap in one season, they can divide it between 2 seasons. So they let some more prominent players go who may be a little bit too expensive for their play for that team, or they just want to rid themselves of them altogether. And this is where sometimes, not last year, the Ravens go in and try to scoop up some guys that may still have the potential to contribute to the team. But most importantly, of course, after June 2nd, anybody that you pick up, anybody that the team decides to sign, will not count against the compensatory picks. So the Ravens can still get busy. Even though they've drafted some positions, they brought in a few guys, the work is still to be done. The Ravens still have a need to find out who's going to play opposite of Roquan Smith. I'm not sure if they're too sold on Trenton Simpson. We don't know what we're getting out of rookie Teddy Buchanan. So they could bring in another linebacker. They could bring in a guy like Kazir White. Who knows? They could find somebody if they don't feel that that position is being manned properly. And also, hopefully, and at least in my opinion, this offensive line isn't finished done. It isn't a finished product. Yes, we have some guys in place. We have some guys that can compete. But I still think that there are a few guys out there that the Ravens could pick up to possibly make this team better. Competition ain't never hurt nobody. So the Ravens could look towards signing guard Will Anderson. Dalton Risner, one of my favorites, is still out there. You have solid veterans like Brandon Sheriff. And one guy that I've seen articles kind of linked to the Ravens that they may possibly go after, and that is Jedrick Wills, who was a top 10 pick in 2020, but injuries kind of derailed his career. The Cleveland Browns gave up on him, but if he came to the Ravens, we would need him to be in a starting position. He could provide coverage for that left and right tackle in case something happened to the starters. Now, I know that the Ravens have signed Joe Noboom, but he just hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. That's why he became expendable. And bringing in another guy who, albeit has an injury history of his own, but was a top 10 pick. So you know that the talent is there. It's just that, can he stay off of that injury report? The Ravens do need to bring in somebody that can come in and play left tackle or right tackle, just in case something happens. And I also know that they drafted Emory Jones, but once again, the Ravens decided that they wanted to go out here and draft another injured player. So we don't know. I just want to be covered just in case somebody goes down. I want that competition so that the best 5 guys on that offensive line will be blocking for Lamar. And if any one of those guys gets hurt or are out for an extended period of time, we have suitable replacements to come in. Not just names, not just bodies, not just people that you can just throw at it and say, you know what, do your best. Because I've said it time and time and time again, Lamar Jackson is the most important piece on this team. He is the one piece that cannot be replicated, duplicated, or substituted for. Without him, we do not win. So let's take the last portion of this free agency period, get these guys in here, get the best guys you can that you can afford. I understand, cash strapped as always, but we make ways for defensive players. Now is the time for the Ravens and Eric DeCosta to comb through whatever they need to, look under each rock, check around each corner, and bring in the best guys to protect for Lamar. Now, as I was perusing through the internet, I was looking at an article, and they were talking about contract extensions and which ones could be the most important for the Baltimore Ravens to get done sooner rather than later. They listed Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Likely, Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, Travis Jones, and I don't think that they mentioned Odafe Owe, but I do think that he is a key piece that the Ravens need to consider. Now, when it comes to these guys, which one to me is the most important to get an extension done with right now? I think that would be Tyler Linderbaum. We don't want to let him hit the open market because I've talked about this before ad nauseum. You start letting some guys go out here and find out their worth from other teams, you may not like what comes back. Now, the Ravens did get lucky when it came to Ronnie Stanley because of the loyalty factor. With that, he took a hometown discount. He got paid less than he could have rightly commanded on the open market. Let's hope the same happens for Tyler Linderbaum, or they just get a deal done with him sooner rather than later. We do have Kyle Hamilton for another year, so I don't think that for the Ravens that is a priority or a need right now. But Travis Jones, Isaiah Likely, and Odafe Owe, their contracts are up at the end of the year. And I think that for me, when it comes to most important, of course I would say Lamar Jackson. He's under contract, but his cap hit balloons to $74 million. We need to slice that down a little bit to have some money to sign other people. But as far as order of importance goes, it has to be Isaiah Likely. We have no tight ends under contract for next season. I'm not sure if the Ravens are going to bring back Mark Andrews, but Isaiah Likely is an ascending player. Lamar Jackson has a connection with him. I think that right now he is a better tight end than Mark Andrews. Charlie Kolar is cool, but I don't want him to be my tight end number one. So I think Isaiah Likely, in all likelihood, is the most important signing as far as extensions go right now, outside of Tyler Linderbaum and Lamar Jackson. And last, but definitely not the least, going through Twitter and I saw a bunch of people asking the question, who are your top 5 Baltimore Ravens of all times? And I just wanted to know what people thought. Now, I know the prevailing thought is going to be that Ray Lewis is the greatest Baltimore Raven of all time, but to many surprise, some people chose some other people. So I'm going to give you my top 5 Ravens of all time, and I want you in the comment section to let me know. List your Baltimore Ravens players 1 to 5. I know for some it's going to be recency bias because not a lot of people were Ravens fans from the beginning. I know some have this recollection of who they believe number 1 is. I just know some people are just going to pick their favorite player of all time. But holistically, deep down, let's dig deep and tell me who you believe the greatest Raven of all time is. And for me, to many surprise, my number 1 Baltimore Raven is going to be Ed Reed. I understand Ray is a lot of people's choice. But to me, as great as Ray Lewis was, I think that Ed Reed was equally as great. And I know that without Ray Lewis, Ed Reed might not have been the player that he was. So I give Ray credit for that. But as far as a guy who changed the game, for a guy where you have the greatest, arguably, head coach of all time, gushes, this man blushes every time he talks about Ed Reed. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they talk about how they had to change their game plans, the way that they played. Teams were scared of him. And this is with the Ravens not even utilizing Ed Reed to his fullest potential, because Ed Reed as a punt returner and a punt blocker was dangerous. But the Ravens just decided, you know what, we're going to stick with defense. And he did his damn thing there as well. So for me, Ed Reed has got to be number 1. Number 2, I debated upon this for him being number 1, but my number 2 is going to be Lamar Jackson. And I understand his legacy's not done. He has not won a Super Bowl with Baltimore as of yet. But the things that he's done with less, and how he continues to get better and better going into year 8, I think that he brought the Baltimore Ravens back to relevance. And with a few minor changes here and there, the Baltimore Ravens could be 2-time defending champions as far as the 2020s go. Of course, Ray Lewis is my number 3, one of the greatest Ravens of all time, arguably the best linebacker in the history of the NFL. Take nothing away from him, he revolutionized the game. Teams feared him. Ray Lewis was not the biggest guy, but he put fear into grown men. Not the same kind of fear that Ed Reed put in. I mean fear. Like, this man is going to hurt me. As for Rashad Mendenhall, who talked a little bit of smack, didn't finish that game. So Ray Lewis and all his greatness comes in at number 3 for me. And at number 4, I had to bring in the Ravens' first overall ever draft pick in Jonathan Ogden, who is arguably, and if you ask me, he is the best offensive lineman ever. This man was a perennial All-Pro, a perennial Pro Bowler. His first season, they started him at guard, and he dominated there too. I'm so glad that the Ravens decided to go against not drafting Lawrence Phillips and went with Jonathan Ogden, because he is one of the all-time greats. He's the first ever Ravens draft pick, and it was a home run pick. And when you talk about that list of all-time great offensive tackles, he's going to be in your top 3 list. I don't care how you name him, what order you put them in, he's going to be there. So to me, he's the number 4 greatest Raven of all time. And coming in at number 5, this one I had to sit down and think about and dig deep with, because there were so many choices that the Ravens could put in at number 5. And no, I did not exclude one guy because of his recent previous transgressions, which may have knocked him out of the Ring of Honor. He's been great for the Ravens, but as far as one of the greatest, he's not in my top 5 at all. So coming in at number 5, the number 5 greatest Raven of all time, and this one might be as debatable as Ray Lewis not being number 1, but it's going to be Joe Flacco. Yes, we have Terrell Suggs. Yes, we have Haloti Ngata. Yes, we have Marshall Yanda. We have so many great players that played for the Baltimore Ravens, but what Joe Flacco did from his rookie season on, how he got better, how this offense was not tailored toward his skills at all, and he still led this team to a Super Bowl. His postseason run in 2012 is possibly the greatest postseason of all time. 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now I know there are times when we believe that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, but sometimes we just say it and we don't really believe it. 2012, we had a possibility, we had a thought that it might happen, but what Joe Flacco did in lifting this team and winning this team its 2nd Super Bowl trophy, I will never forget it. Was he elite? Who knows? Was he one of the greatest quarterbacks of his era? Probably not. But what he did for the Baltimore Ravens cannot be understated. So once again, those are my top 5 Baltimore Ravens of all time. Drop in the comment section. Let me know your list. Let me know who's your number 1 and tell me why. Don't just say, he was so great, he's number 1. Let me know why that person was actually your number 1. And then we may do a live, we may have a debate, talk about it at some other time. But until then, I'm out.